Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Show. Coming up this week, Postecoglou's party at Celtic looks over as the Aussie bossy is offy. Oh dear! The Staggies stage a sensational survival comeback, stamping out Partick Thistle. And B teams can bugger off ahead of the Conference League vote. Welcome, one and all, to the last podcast of the season. Yes, I know. It's going to be a tough summer, but, Steve Clarke's Tartan Army are already in preparation to hump Haaland and cut down Kvaratskhelia, so it's all going to be a good serving of Scottish football success in the coming months. But I am your host, Andrew Slaven, and I am coming to you from the fashion capital of the world, Milan, Italy. I didn't pay to be here. I have been taken here by my work. But it's a weird season finale this week. None of us are actually in Scotland at the moment. Joining me, as usual, West Ham super producer, my sister from another mister, Laura Brannan, and football filmmaker with all the Fs. It's Findlay f***ing Marks. Where are you, Laura? Where are you, Finn? Laura, you go first, because I think your one is quite exciting.
Hello from Prague, nul point.
Oh, I like that, the Eurovision entry.
Hello from Prague. I'm not wearing my best ball gown, but I should have planned ahead.
Obviously, that nil point was only for England, Laura.
Oh, yeah. 12 points for Scotland, for Ecosse.
Amazing. Great city. Absolutely love Prague. Love it. How are you finding it?
It's all weather's extreme right now. It was scorching yesterday. It was chucking it down today. I've not planned at all because I'm Scottish and I've completely underestimated the weather entirely. But I'm here for the Conference League final, which is on Wednesday evening with West Ham. And it's pretty good. It's all systems go. We're doing pretty good stuff. I was chasing a plane down a runway today, which is not something you do every day.
Not literally.
Yeah, we were on the runway in a car chasing the team flight as it landed and then had to overtake the plane to make sure we got to the terminal in time to film the players walking off.
I'm picturing Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. If you've ever seen that film. Pull over! Pull over! You're supposed to be there. Oh, amazing.
I absolutely would not put it past Laura to get in a baggage handler's crane to go hurtling along at a couple of 100 miles an hour next to a plane just to get the good shot that she really wants to get. The dedication to the cause she has.
Oh yeah, we overtook the plane. It was quite a buzz. We were proper cheated in the car.
Amazing. Wow. Findlay, coming to us from Melbourne.
Back in Melbourne, yeah, it's a shame this wasn't recorded over the weekend because I was also away from home. Technically, I was in Sydney for the A-League's grand final between Melbourne City and Central Coast Mariners. I was there working with Melbourne City. Didn't quite go according to plan. They lost 6-1 in the final. But there was a happy Scottish connection. Jason Cummings, the cum dog, signed off from a terrific season with Central Coast Mariners with a hat-trick in the final. So,
wow.
There you go.
Dribbling in goals.
There's always a Scottish connection somewhere. Scottish football, it's a wonderful, tiny little world.
He really should get rid of that nickname, though. Absolutely minging. But I think he came up with it himself, didn't he? I'm not too sure.
I think he did. I mean, that raises more questions than it answers, doesn't it? But that's generally the way with Jason Cummings. Apparently, he's off to India in the summer to join an Indian Premier League team for quite a bit of money.
Yeah. It might turn out for the Indian national team in the next World Cup.
Wouldn't put it past them.
Well, as always, plenty of funny stuff going on over the kind of last few weeks, really. It's been a great run into the end of the season. But looking at the Scottish Cup final, loved the little bit of social that Inverness Cali put out. Or was it Inverness Cali?
It was Cali Thistle.
Of the bus journey to Hampden. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, it was Keanu Reeves driving them there. It was like something out of Speeds. It was obviously they've sped up the footage to get through the streets of Mount Florida to get to Hampden, and the coach going down into the belly of the stadium. But for some reason, somebody pointed it out on Twitter, like, how fast is the Cali Thistle bus going? And it just that's all anybody could see after that. It was quite funny.
Fitba Patter was, they nailed it. Slow down, FFS. You would have liked this one as well, Finn. Graham Souness, obviously with his Rangers connection. He was back in Turkey, recreating the famous flag moment because Galatasaray won the league. But famously in 1996, he took the Galatasaray flag and slammed it right into the centre circle, didn't he? When he won it as manager
of their rival Fenerbahce stadium, that was the kicker. Even slightly more death-defying than was it Lee Griffiths that tied a Celtic scarf to the goalpost at Ibrox, which is, wasn't looked on favourably, let's say, by the Rangers support. But I think planting a massive Galatasaray flag in the centre circle at Fenerbahce stadium was a brave thing to do for our Graham. But it was slightly more staid this time because it was at Galatasaray Stadium and they just gave him a massive flag and he was waving it very serenely as he was celebrating on the pitch with the players. It was quite nice to see, but a lovely callback to one of the best football shithousery moments from the 90s.
Amazing.
Did you see the slightly out of date? This happened a week or so ago, but when Tony Docherty got announced as a Dundee manager, so then they put out the graphic confirming that he was made manager, but the photo they used was the photo of him celebrating a win for Aberdeen over Dundee at Dens Park. Like, are they not aware? I mean, these people take the photo off the website and then remove the background. How did nobody notice that this was at their own ground?
And they've had to Photoshop out the Aberdeen badge from his jacket as well. So, yeah.
So they have. I never even noticed that, but the initials are gone and everything.
It was just very Dundee, very cinch, and quite frankly, we're all here for it. So.
100%. I mean, if anyone who's listening right now does have time, it's worthwhile going into the Old Firm Facts page to look at the 2022-23 Alternative Scottish Football Awards.
Yeah.
There's some absolute social gold in there. Looking back at the best, one of the categories right at the top is best photo, and the winner is when Elgin City posted it out saying arguably the best picture ever taken on a football pitch. And it's actually Queen of the South fans getting scalped with the ball, but they're obviously holding a bag of chips and a cup of tea. And one of the last, there's one girl who looks like she's obviously trying to shield herself from the ball, but she just looks like she's dabbing. It's just amazing. And there's some even better ones out there, like when Dundee released the tickets for their game against Partick Thistle, but called him Patrick Thistle, and Partick Thistle then tweeted that out saying when Patrick Thistle start to play. There's so much great stuff in there.
One of the boys I work with actually said to me last night, I used to think that Partick Thistle was called Patrick Thistle, and he was getting all this stick for it, and I was like, well, actually, hold on a minute. There's a team that thought they were called Patrick Thistle, so you're not the only one.
Oh,
I think that make him feel a bit better.
Football, bloody hell.
Right, playoff drama. We'll get to the match details and reaction a little bit later in the show, but it was an amazing end to the Scottish football season, certainly in terms of drama. It all came down to a penalty shootout for a place in the Premiership next season between Ross County and Partick Thistle. But it was the penalties were weirdly looked like they were directed by the police, Laura.
Oh, this riled me. This wound me up.
It wound a few people up, I think.
Apparently, the police decided which end the penalties were taken at. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that penalties were always decided by a coin toss.
Yeah,
correct.
And the winning captain chose the end, normally chooses the end his set of fans are at. Fair's fair. But for the police to step in and say, no, it's getting taken at the home end fans, has got to raise a few eyebrows here, because Dingwall's not the best stadium when it comes to security. They have a...
Now, why would you say that specifically, Laura? Do you have any actual empirical evidence that they're not particularly good at stewarding matches?
Oh, let's just say Dingwall has a history of deploying rather unfair and heavy-handed tactics when it comes to the away end. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of these firsthand to the sets of fans that I've been filming and to myself personally. Lots of stories there. Like, not just myself and Motherwell fans, there's been other fans as well. I think Celtic fans have been subjected to it, Partick Thistle fans over the past, I think, as well.
Subjected to what? Give me a detail.
They're just, the stewards are oh God, I don't know how to diplomatically say this. They're not very nice people.
Do the stewards just muck in with the chants with the fans?
The problem is that the way end is very close to the pitch. And, well, to be fair, the whole stadium is very close to the pitch. There's parts of that stand where you could touch the net, probably. And bearing in mind that all these travelling fans are probably on a bus drinking for 3 hours, and they don't take too nicely to it, and they're very heavily handed. There's been times when they would take flags off Motherwell fans for the no justification at all and stuff. There's been very petty behaviour and little things. Even with myself, it's like you've got a pass to be a certain place, but they won't let you do certain things. Endless debates and battles with them. But anyway, what it comes down to is there should have been a fair decision between which end the penalties were taken at, because of course Partick Thistle would have wanted to take them in front of their own fans. And I just feel like that is not fair. It's not in the spirit of football. It's not sporting. Some Jobsworth has made this decision, and it is completely the wrong way to approach it in terms of fairness.
Is this something where maybe I would step in and say, why aren't we having all of these promotion finals? Why aren't we having them at Hampden?
Oh, because the Hampden pitch would fall apart. It's like if it has more than one game on it every 6 months, it's no use.
But it shouldn't. It shouldn't, and there shouldn't be a reason why we couldn't do that.
Is that because the fans are so far away though that they can't cause a safety hazard? Because it's a good stadium. It's a great tight stadium for atmosphere, and I don't think that should be discouraged in any way. Because there's always a good atmosphere when you go to these games, mostly from the away end, making the noise. I don't think that should be discouraged. And if anything, I think the players would probably have actually relished the chance to take penalties in that sort of situation. Yeah, it's a high pressure circumstances, but I don't know. I think I would rather do that and be properly in the heart of it, in the heat of it, rather than doing it at Hampden where you've got the fans are half a mile away.
Obviously, congratulations to Ross County, like an unreal turnaround. Like I said, we will get some more reaction later on in the podcast. But Celtic themselves made massive history at the weekend, breaking a world record. They clinched their 8th treble at the weekend. No other side has done that. It was a 3-1 win over Inverness Caledonian Thistle in the Scottish Cup final. It's 5 trebles in 7 seasons now for Celtic. But the kind of lasting conversation from the final was that, will it be Ange Postecoglou's final game in charge? And let's face it, I think that is the case. Talks have happened, things have been verbally agreed already, and strangely, I've already seen on Twitter some Spurs fans coming out and going like, what? We're replacing Conte with some guy called Ange Postecoglou. There are people out there who don't know who he is, but very similar in Scotland, Finn, and he proved a lot of doubters wrong.
Well, I was just going to make the point, it's that same level of ignorance that really comes from especially European-centric fans, because you don't know the game outside of Europe at all for the large part. But it's been that same thing. It's like before Postecoglou came to Scotland, everybody's like, oh, that's embarrassing for Celtic. Who's this mug that's coming over from the J-League via Australia? Like, what do they know about football? And he's proved everybody wrong. But it's that same level of ignorance again, because of how the contempt that English football fans, or the ignorance English football fans have for the Scottish game. The thing is with Postecoglou, and obviously in any of these kind of conversations, no matter what you say, will probably be tempered by bias in some way because of the team that I support and because of the team that Postecoglou manages. But being as objective as possible, we were mentioning this when he was linked with another job a couple of weeks ago. I think you'd said, Andrew, like, why would he want to leave? Or maybe there aren't the clubs coming in from or anything. And I was like, I think as much as he's loved being at Celtic, he's loved that relationship he's had with the fans and everything, he's an incredibly determined and ambitious man. Like, you can see that from all the jobs that he's had before, and he is hungry to prove himself at the highest possible level. And if you're being realistic, it's not just Celtic, it's Scottish football as a whole is not the highest level, whether we want to realise that or not. It's working in one of the big 5 leagues. And I think if he doesn't take the opportunity now, because I don't think his stock can possibly get higher than it is at the moment. It can only possibly come down slightly, I think, if he's not successful next season or Celtic don't have a great Champions League run or something like that. Just all the conditions are perfect for him to make this move now. He's achieved everything he probably will achieve at Celtic, certainly domestically, signing off with a treble. How much better can you do? So it feels like it's the right time. This feels different from Rodgers leaving though, doesn't it?
Yeah, for me, the only real thing he's got left to do is conquer Europe when it comes to Celtic. And when you've got an opportunity to make that step to renownedly, as much as we'll say Scottish football is the best in the world, it's renownedly known as being one of the top leagues in the world. Of course, that's going to be tempting for somebody to make that step. Is the challenge of taking on Europe with Celtic and conquering that side of things really a big temptation when you compare the two? Because he could still have that challenge if he takes the job at Spurs. Maybe not next season, but somewhere down the line, he could still have the European chapter of his career to then take on.
Yeah, of course.
That will certainly be the first thing he has to achieve with Tottenham, is actually getting them back into Europe, because they do not have that next season. So it's one of those things where it's a mixture of ambition and determination, like you said, Finn, and money.
Yeah.
Money! Everyone in my hotel is going to be hating me shouting about money right now at 1 o'clock in the morning.
When you're talking about that kind of arrogance of the English fans turning their nose up at him, I mean, I was overhearing a conversation with one of the staff members here over from West Ham. Just random, normal English guy, likes his football, such and such, right? But the stuff he was coming out with, and I was typing it to you guys as I was overhearing it, because I wasn't going to get bogged into a debate with him, but I was like, I can't believe he's saying this. And the stuff he was saying, he said, he'll be sacked by Christmas. They can't hire a championship level manager, which is where he is. That's the level Celtic are at. It's the championship.
Oh,
it's a completely different game down here as in, well, he means London, even though we're not in London. There's too much pressure in the Premier League. They've had 57 games this season. He can't handle that many games. And I'm sorry, but Celtic have played 53 games this season.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, for sure, but the arrogance oozing from him to just be like, no, he's a failure. No, I kind of bit a wee bit, and I wasn't going to bite a lot, but then I went down the path of, well, this was the arrogance, or not the arrogance, but the lack of understanding that some Celtic fans came out with. He completely changed it, and he was going on about, but if Harry Kane leaves, who are they going to have? And I was like, well, he could also bring his, these Japanese exports that he brought in, all these new players that no one knew about, and he could implement something similar at Spurs. And his face was just like, what Japanese players? What are you talking about? And I'm like, you don't even know what he's done or how he's changed Celtic or his approach or his style of football or anything. It's just all you've done is see that he's a manager of Celtic, and that is not a good enough level in your books. And that's so depressing, because that is not just him that's saying that. That is a very widely written opinion across English football.
It's a cultural thing, and it was the same thing with Gerrard. The reason that Gerrard, eyebrows weren't raised too much with Gerrard coming down south is because people knew his name from his playing career, but nobody actually really knew in any great detail what he'd done whilst Rangers manager, whether it was good or not. They just saw, he'd won the league with Rangers, but yeah, anybody could do that, hey? It's just like, oh, good, he's coming back down to the Premier League because he's an English person and we know the name. But it's just that level of, it's at times an unfathomable ignorance, considering you're right next to them. And it's like fair dues if you're not following, the inner working of Albion Rovers' plight in League Two. But I mean, Celtic and Rangers are two of the biggest clubs in Europe in terms of stature, fan base, all the rest of it. It's ridiculous that you wouldn't even know a handful of the players that were doing it.
The thing is, any manager should be successful at clubs like Celtic or Rangers because they have the money and the backing and whatnot. But it's about making those teams a success. And if you can achieve that, there's no reason why you can't go anywhere in Europe for that matter. But the big question does kind of move on to who will be replacing Postecoglou, and I'll take this away from Laura here, Finn, and we can discuss this. because I do wonder if David Moyes might be available in the summer after he's picked up the Europa League Conference League trophy, and sails off into the Thames and up the Brent River, and then where's the next one? Up the Clyde.
Well, if he's going up that side, he probably needs to go down, come down the Forth, doesn't he? And then it might take a while. Yeah, that was a lovely analogy. I enjoyed that one.
But David Moyes, Finn.
Like, can I just jump in here before you actually sensibly analyse this? But I'm sorry, but how boring is it over the last, 15 years that every time a Celtic vacancy comes up, the first name is David Moyes? It's just the same.
It's because he's came out and said it in the past that he would like to manage Celtic.
It's the same go-to name that the bookies rule out every time.
Well, but this is the more fantastical thing that's already came out in the press, is that Brendan Rodgers would be in the frame, but it seems like that's going to be a no, and we're not surprised that it wouldn't happen either, because there's a video that's gone out, and I think Graham Spears tweeted it, of Brendan Rodgers saying that he would never rule out a return to Celtic, but it's fairly unlikely in the short term.
With Moyes, it's interesting because I think he's one of those names, like you're saying, Laura. It's pretty much every time there's been a managerial vacancy at Celtic or close to it, like if a manager's struggling or whatever, there's an immediate link in the press to Davy Moyes. I just think it says more about journalism around football stuff in Scotland and the UK than it does any particular strength to the rumours, because you tend to find this kind of stuff happens all the time. I mean, do you remember there was the player that had signed on loan for Rangers from Man City, Vladimir Weiss? This is in Walter Smith's second spell.
I remember him, the Slovakian guy.
Yeah, and he had a pretty decent 6 months, I think it was. I think he won, would it have been a league title in the League Cup or something like that? He won a couple of medals. And the thing that won him over to the Rangers support was that he was spotted in the crowd, I think, when he was injured. Or the next season, I think he'd come back and he was in with the Ultras and singing the songs and stuff. But basically from that point, this is 2011, and I think I don't even know if he's retired, but he'll be close to it now. Every single bloody transfer window since that point, they've been like, do you know who I've heard is coming back? Vladimir Weiss. We're actually going to sign him on a thing. It's just like there are certain names, certain people that can perennially linked with football teams, and Davy Moyes just seems to be one of those ones. I don't know. I mean, is it the type of manager that Celtic really want? I think when you look to Postecoglou, and that was somebody who was unknown in certain quarters, but in terms of his ambition and his track record and how progressive he was really as a football coach in modern terms, that's the kind of person you surely want to be going for. So I don't think you need to be jumping on like, well, here's somebody who's a good Celtic man and he was a youth player at the club, or he's always spoken well of the club, and that's the kind of person we need to get in. I don't know if that's quite how it works in the modern game. I don't know if the fans would be huge about Rodgers coming back either, but yeah, we'll wait and see. I mean, I heard a rumour that Peter Lawwell and Neil Lennon were in discussions in the showers after the Cali Thistle game, so read into that what you will.
Oh, the famous showers. A steamy affair. We need to move on, but a few good pointers to remind people that there was other cup winners at the weekend. Cumnock Juniors defeated Rutherglen Glencairn in the Scottish Junior Cup final 1-0. A 93rd minute winner from Findlay Fry. Sorry if I've not pronounced that name correctly, Findlay. Obviously, Findlay Marks put this in because a Findlay scored a goal.
Absolutely.
And added to all of that as well, by the way, is 4,000 turned out at Broadwood, which is amazing when you think of where that is in the pyramid system. But also, guys, have you seen Lewis Ferguson scored another 97th minute winner for Bologna away to Lecce? It was his third goal in his last 3 matches and his 7th overall in this campaign. Debut season in Italy. He's now the most of any midfielder in their debut season to score that many goals. If you think his uncle, Barry Ferguson, absolutely lambasting Rangers for not getting Lewis Ferguson signed up, he's gone to Bologna. He's now easily a £20 million player.
Yeah. I remember saying this to my friends who were sceptical. I think there's a real snobbishness sometimes, especially in the Rangers support or the Celtic support, about signing players from within Scotland. But I was like, honestly, Lewis Ferguson has all the attributes to be an amazing top level player. It's not just the connection, obviously, through his family. And you're seeing that now. That's the thing. He's been fantastic. And I think Bologna finished like 9th or something in Serie A, which is pretty respectable. Like they finished just outside the European places. So I'm really excited to see how his career develops going over there and where it will lead to.
There's already big clubs sniffing around. So even if he stays for another season, he'll get a big move very, very soon.
Josh Sims to keep Ross County in the Premiership. He's done it! Ross County are on the highest of highs in the Highlands. Against all odds, they have preserved their place in the Premiership.
Now, we've seen some amazing drama at the business end of the season, up and down the country. Spartans gained entry to the SPFL via the playoffs. Annan got their first ever promotion. The Scottish Women's Premier League title was decided by a 92nd minute winner. The entire final day of the championship season, that was insane. But 2023 season had more gold up its sleeve before the season came to a close. And it might just be one of the most incredible playoffs in the history of the SPFL. Because on Sunday night, Ross County pulled off an incredible comeback against Partick Thistle. The Staggies were 2-0 down from the first leg. They trailed 1-0 at half-time in Dingwall. But 3 goals in the final 20 minutes levelled the tie, and eventually on penalties, they cemented their future in the top flight for another season. Brilliantly, Laura caught up with County striker Jordan White to talk to us about that amazing comeback.
Jordan, what we witnessed yesterday was nothing short of incredible. Firstly, how are you feeling waking up this morning?
I think there's a sense of relief. I think in terms of the emotion of the game, it went from the low lows to the highest highs, and I think sometimes you've got to, even though it's not the position we wanted to be in or how we wanted the season to go, you got to take these moments don't come around often, and to actually feel the emotion of the fans and the players, of everybody, of how we actually came back, it really hit home, and sometimes you just got to cherish the moments.
Before we get into the game itself, these playoffs in general, they've provided so much drama over the years, haven't they? Have you been involved?
The last one I was involved in was with Livingston. We actually ended up getting relegated. It was against Stranraer. That was in the semi-final, so it was the first leg. So the first leg we actually get beat 5-2, and it was similar to that one. We came back and we scored in the last minute. We won 4-1, took it to extra time, and then ended up getting beaten in extra time. But I think as well, we've seen the playoffs earlier, like even the Sheffield Wednesday 4-0 down. I think that was in our heads as well. But in the game on Thursday, there was a couple of big moments in terms of we kept the score at 2-0. We put 75 minutes with 10 men, and I think that was in our heads. That they didn't put the game to bed, which they maybe could have and felt they should have. So we knew there was always a chance, but the way it ended up panning out was not expected.
Let's go back to the start of the weekend then. Obviously 2 down. I think a lot of people had written you off.
Yeah.
Were there nerves going into this game, or was it kind of almost like, we've got nothing left to lose here, just go out and see what happens?
I think we felt that obviously the 10 men really, it did make a big difference in the first leg. After that we struggled to kind of get a foothold in the game. They had all the possession, and we knew at home, we knew if we'd won. We actually came up, there was a stat now, we've not won as many games as we wanted this season, but the last 6 games we won were by 2 goals or more. So in our heads you're thinking, well, if we just win the game, we're going to be fine. And obviously even when you go 1-0 down, you're 3-0 down in aggregate, but I still think we just thought if we get a goal, we'll see how they react, because I think Partick Thistle, to be fair, they were a credit to themselves all playoffs. They've been excellent in the full time, but they've probably not had any kind of adversity or come up against, so that everything's been plain sailing for them. So for us, we wanted to try and make them uncomfortable and try and, obviously the first goal was important. We wanted to get that, and we felt if we got that, then it might have been a different story again. And obviously we got the goal, and I think they felt it a bit when we got the goal, and obviously it showed when we got the second straight away.
Was there something that you guys worked on in training in the build? Obviously, having played them in the first game, you knew a bit more about them at that point. Was there something that you guys specifically worked on that you weren't expecting to, or anything, or changed any of your game plan?
We tweaked our formation a wee bit through the first game. I think something that kind of hurt us down their right side with their right back and Stevie Lawless as well. They were kind of their main threat, and they caused us quite a lot of problems. And to be fair, before the game on Thursday, we knew that was our kind of main threat, but obviously got down to 10 men, it was quite hard to stop it. So that we kind of tried to nullify that a bit, and I think especially in the first half, I think we had probably more possession, we had opportunities, and it was just about, we knew we didn't have to win the game in 10 minutes, we didn't need to win it in the first half. But one thing with us, when we do score, we seem to just kick on. You know, I don't know what it is, but the last few games, or the last games that were fun, we score and we just take off, and it happened exactly like that. So
you're 3 down at half time. Malky's team talk must have been something special.
You know, he was very calm. He said to us, he said if you get a goal, he said he feels that they could crumble, and he gave us the belief. And listen, but Partick were good, and I have sympathy for them because they put everything into it, and you don't want to go down that way. But as well, another wee bit of motivation. We came out at half time, and obviously, you know, being in change rooms as well. Like before the games, you've got the music on. After the games, if you win, you get the music on. We're walking out and they've got music on at half time, and I think we thought, oh, okay, they think they're there, and we thought, right, let's test them, let's see if we can test them, and I think that kind of put a wee bit more fire in our belly, and eventually got the job done.
That's really interesting, actually. I mean, like, going into the last 15 minutes, do you remember much? Is it a blur or what?
Do you know what it was? Like when we scored the penalty, it was just like, okay, we can do this, and then straight away, I think they took centre, and I don't think we've chased the ball down as quick in all my life. Honestly, the intensity for the team, and that shook them, and they passed the ball out for a shy, and we take a shy, and we won't score. Like the intensity was just, and because we done that, because we got that so quickly, we knew then we still had about 20 odd minutes plus stoppage time to get the equaliser. We didn't panic.
Looking into penalties, right? How big was it to take them in front of your own fans?
Yeah, I think that was big. I mean, to be honest, I didn't mind where I taking them. I think all the boys were confident going up to it. We'd practiced them on the day before as well, and we'd spoke quite a lot about it. Even spoke with the keepers about what they don't like is if they're in goals, and I think it really helped us, and I think everybody stood up, and obviously a couple missed, but to stand up and take a penalty, then that shows a character in the balls really to do that in such a, because at the end of the day, we've got everything to lose as well, because we would get relegated if we don't win that penalty shootout. Obviously, Partick this way, they'll be absolutely devastated, but they maybe had a wee bit, I would have thought they'd have been a wee bit freer on their penalties, but it turned out that we were.
I don't know, like, see, thinking about it, and I obviously I've never played the game and don't know the pressures, but seeing a cup final, I would think, okay, well, the prize is either you win the cup or you don't win the cup, and if you don't win it, you get over that. But if you, in your situation, it shapes the whole season, potentially years going on after that, but it shapes your whole next year and the club and how much the club are affected by that. I don't know, did that feel like, have you ever felt pressure like that stepping up? Because there's so much riding on it.
At the time, you don't take that into consideration as such. After it, we actually, it's funny you say that, we all kind of said that, like, it's crazy how, like, one penalty goes your way and it does it shapes the future of how your career can be, how the club is going to progress, and it is crazy. But I think I think everybody stood up and took one showed real ball, and all the penalties were good penalties.
Did you enjoy the full time celebrations? Is that a stupid question?
No, but do you know what? I was absolutely shattered, and it was just more relief than anything. Obviously, the fans coming on the pitch, it was great, but I was just like, I couldn't wait to go over and see my wee one and my wife, and just see them, because it was all the emotions coming out then, and it does, and that's what I'm saying. You got to cherish the moments because they don't come along often.
What was the team spirit like during this time? Because obviously results weren't going your way, and it was difficult for you. Like, how much did the players kind of rally together around this time?
The team spirit's actually fantastic, I think, and it comes from the manager and the staff. Like, they create an environment where it's like that, and it's easy to be in, and no matter how, you never get too high when you win, and you never get too low when you lose. And I think I think everybody's just handled the occasion really well.
What does this mean for the club to be in the Premiership for another season?
It's massive. I think obviously off the back of last season, where we probably overachieved, there was a couple of teams who didn't perform as well. It's always hard to emulate that as well, and I think it's been disappointing in terms of where we are. Even being in the playoffs, it's not somewhere we wanted to be. So in reflection of that, we want to be better. We want to be much better going forward. But I think the way we stayed up, I think we were 4 points behind Dundee United and Kilmarnock going into the split. We managed to get out of that, and then so at that time we would have taken a playoff spot. So I think from that position, probably for the turn of the year, we've definitely turned a corner. We've had a few results that we weren't happy with, and a few games that we were just not ourselves. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a new season next year, and we're looking forward to making it a better one than this one. So hopefully we kick on and we're not in this position again.
And Stevie May! Bedlam! Chaos! Euphoria in the away stand! Blue limbs everywhere!
Okay, plans for a new fifth tier of Scottish football have been withdrawn.
Hooray!
Yes, the idea of relegating 200 clubs down the pyramid system and installing top-flight B teams will not be on the table. The cards are burned. Tuesday's SFA AGM will not be talking about this. Livingston St Mirren were among a number of clubs that publicly came out against the proposals. Aberdeen stated they wouldn't be involved, and even Rangers boss Michael Beale expressed his doubts. Laura, you have the floor. This is a success story, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And like, just to fill anyone in who didn't hear the chat a few weeks ago when we were talking about this, basically the vote was due on Tuesday at the SFA AGM. The plan was for 3 B teams to accompany 7 clubs from the Highland Lowland Leagues in this 5th tier, starting from not next season but the one after. They needed 55 votes from the 102 members clubs. And as it stood, I think it was about 40 had come out by today saying they were voting no. I know it was definitely 35 the other day. I think another 5 or 6 came out on the day to announce it as well. Now, the political line here from the SFA is they're saying they're heeding the kind of backlash from supporters, because this is not went down well at all with fans, at all. They've clearly listened to it, and they're now saying that they're withdrawing this idea and they're going to go back to the drawing board, consult with clubs, and really kind of develop more of a plan to iron out exactly how the best pathway can be developed for players. I think this is a very well politicised line, which really translates as clubs and fans kicked up so much that we don't really have a way out of this now, and we're just going to say we've paused it, And we won't hear about this for a while. It'll probably show its head in another kind of maybe 3 or 4 years' time. But I think for now, it's dead in the water. And it really is a victory for fans and for clubs here, because I have not seen a single person, apart from Ian Maxwell, actually support this idea. I don't really see how any club benefits from this. There's a wee bit underlying here. I'm a wee bit suspicious of, I think the kind of plans where maybe the teams could actually get promotion, but it was never really publicised. Maybe not straight away, but it was going to come in. I mean, we've got to bear in mind here, the B teams that are in the tier, in the Scottish League system right now, it was meant to be for one season. They're still there a couple of years on. So you can't really take their word on it when they're talking about temporary plans and, oh, we're not going to have promotion, we're not going to have them influencing anyone else in the pyramid system. You need to take that with a pinch of salt, because I think there was underlying plans there to do completely the opposite of what they were actually telling everyone.
And the other aspect of this as well is that Scottish Lowland League members have already voted to retain Premiership B teams as well. So I get the idea of like what the SFA is trying to sell, that these players, these young players, will be at a higher level, playing for like proper competition without any disrespect to the Scottish Lowland League. But it's just not, I just don't believe any of that. And I don't think anyone believes that is the case. And we even had Andy Barge on, who was asking for where was the actual evidence, the statistical evidence that says this and that. And, there may be somewhere, we haven't found it yet.
That's the thing, the SFA keep pushing this example of Croatia as the be-all and end-all. If we do this, we're going to end up like Croatia. They've had good runs in the World Cup, in the Euros. But I'm sorry, this is being dispelled. The squad that played in the World Cup and got to the final, how many of them actually came from B teams? There was 5 of the 26-man squad, and one of those played in a B team in Germany, not in Croatia. And they've also come out with this Brentford scenario as well, compare the progress of players. They even mentioned the fact that Brentford B team had signed Romeo Beckham, as if this was some sort of success story.
Jesus.
I'm sorry, but that yeah, sure, we'll go and model Scottish football on the fact that Romeo Beckham, who's more of a celeb, Z-list celeb than he is footballer, is joining a B club. It's embarrassing. And it just felt like they were clutching at straws with some of their examples of how this could actually have worked, because no one was buying it.
I think when you look at the evidence, that's what you have to try and do as well, because really this was being pushed through by the old firm. And actually what's interesting even in that is that Michael Beale, who's big on youth development, and that's his whole background, has not been hugely in favour of it, I don't think, or not in its current iteration, or the idea of a conference league since he became the Rangers manager. But I think, we were all fed this line from both sides of the old firm that the point of the B teams was to create future Scotland internationals, and it's easier for us to blood through youngsters because, they're playing against real men and stuff. I think when you look at things like post-split, so effectively once Celtic had won the title at Tynecastle, there are 4 dead rubbers after that, right? And you look at both Rangers and Celtic, between them, of all the starting 11s that have gone out, there have been 2 starts given to young Scottish players. And that was the same player, Leon King, who started 2 matches out of the 4 dead rubbers for Rangers. So I think, and they're getting nominal amounts of minutes off the bench between them all. But I'm just thinking, like, that, surely that's the point. I mean, I know in Scotland it's not like England, where a lot of the English teams, especially the EPL sides, they use the League Cup as the training ground for their youth players, don't they? Mm-hmm. How many of them really take it seriously? And if they get to the semi-final, well, we'll chuck a few more of the first teamers in and stuff. But it's because the demand for success is not the same down there as it is in Scotland for Rangers or for Celtic. Like, you can't treat a competition as a B team exercise if you're Rangers or Celtic. You just can't, because you run the risk of not winning that tournament and your rivals winning it. So there's that there as well. It's just, I mean, the whole thing, I'm going back to right at the top. I'm so pleased and proud of this groundswell of a fan movement that came to the realisation that, and fair play to the clubs for doing it too, because a couple of clubs I think initially had been like, yeah, we're in favour of a conference league, or putting a B team in, but let's speak to the fans anyway. And the fans have vehemently said, we do not want this. This is not in the best interests of Scottish football in general. We don't think this is in the best interests of our club. We don't want to be associated with it. And fair play to the clubs. They've been like, great, right, we're listening to you. We're voting no. So that's great. And you've had a couple of clubs that have kind of embarrassingly had to do 180 turns from their initial point of view. But it's brilliant. And this is what we need more of, more fan engagement, more of the fans' voices being heard, being listened to, and driving forward change, or in this case, not change, which is in the best interest of the game. And surely that's got to be the blueprint for all of these things going forward.
Well, that is, I would say, Finn, a wonderful way to end the podcast. Because that is one reason why we started this podcast, for fans, because we are fans too. But that is it. Our season is over. The first season of the Scottish Football Show. It's been amazing. 48 episodes. What an absolute run that's been. It's been bloody hard. But I have to doff my cap off to both of you, Laura and Finn, because you guys, without you, editing, writing, me changing a few things has been an absolute gem of a show to put together. But this is why liking and sharing the pod via any of the podcast platforms that you use, it does help us grow the program. So we appreciate all the support you've given us this season.
Can I also just add in just a huge thanks to all the guests we've had on this season, because we've had a really big range from fans, from managers, from players, from people all across the Scottish football world, and they've contributed so much, and it's been great to get so many different voices on who have wanted to take part in this podcast. It's really added something to it, and I hope it's kind of brought more wealth to the conversation, and more entertainment and understanding to subjects to the listeners, and we hope to just build on it next season.
Yeah, well, that's it. Go and listen to something else now, but come back in July. Bye.